Hi, everyone. It's Reverend Laurie with Unity of Ocala, coming to you this almost our last week in January. Lent is approaching fast, and we're going to have a wonderful time studying that process that leads up to the Eastertide. You know, since we're doing everything virtually these days, we're reaching beyond our unity circles and unity communities and getting lots of questions from folks wondering about our unique type of spirituality, this movement called unity. And I'm just very excited about getting these questions because I believe it's so important in every sense of that word. Yes, the unity teachings, because they are about unifying, discussing these different types of spirituality and different walks of life, different types of praying, different types of worship and worshiping. You know, unity is a true interfaith community. We honor all the paths to God. We know that unity is not the only path to God, the only study, the only philosophy that explores the topic of God and the great eternal. And so one of the wonderful things about being a unity student is the opportunity to learn so much about other religions and other paths on this planet. We are not here alone. And you know what I have found is that if we have only one view, just one teaching, we tend to consider that our people, and people collectively do best in herds and groups, and they tend to associate with each other in their sense of what they like about themselves and each other. They gather by what is most common to them. And while this is an innate survival skill, it tends to keep the mind very small and closed to the grander scale of what's really going on the planet. And there are 6 billion of us plus walking this earth at this time in history right now. And every one of us have our own unique relationship with our Creator. And so that's going to look different from tribe to tribe, country to country, group to group. And I have found in my personal journey that the way others deal through their spirituality, the more curious I remain, the more knowledge I gather about the beautiful differences in us. For if it weren't for the diversity and we were all exactly the same, what would be the point? What would be the point? We're certainly not attracted to a partner that is exactly the same as us. As a matter of fact, opposites generally attract. And we are reflections and balances of that other. So if we and our partner like the same exact movies, the same stories, the same food, the same color, the same conversation, the same daily schedule, one of us would be unnecessary. But God saw to it that every single human wouldn't be here. So don't you want to find out all about those other folks that are your brothers and sisters? I do. And so this year we're going to wander along some of those paths, some of those folks especially that call Unity home, and they come and worship with us and study with us and share their spirituality with us. We're talking this particular month about Kabbalism, the Kabbalists, which is the ancient spiritual aspect, the mystical aspect of the Jewish religion, perhaps one of the oldest traditions. It dates back that we know of 7,000 years, back in the time of Abraham and the prophets. And from that came the writings that eventually made it into the Old Testament and the New Testament. But this incredible teaching was more of a science, and the physical aspects of creation, beautifully explained spiritually Genesis from beginning to end. And it was so far ahead of its time that some back in the day considered Kabbalists to be quite crazy because their concepts about sciences and physics was so far advanced that the common practitioner didn't understand it. And the Jewish rabbis would not allow their students to study the Kabbalah, even the rabbi that has taught me Hebrew, until I'm at least 40, until I have a clear understanding of the Jewish tradition and the branches that have come from that, and how the oral tradition was translated into the modern languages. And so much of that nuance and idiom was lost, because quite honestly, you cannot take a spoken language that comes from the right side of the brain and translate it effectively into a left-brained language or a written phonics language. You can't do it justice. Those nuances don't have translations often. I eat my parents, for example, does not certainly mean cannibalism. It means I take in the teachings of my wise elder, the Hebrew language and the Aramaic language that cannot be captured in modern day scripture. And that is why, even though the basic text for unity teachings is the Bible, we certainly don't read it literally. We understand the Aramaic language and we understand the Hebrew language and what those words and those phrases are referring to, we can understand what the prophets were talking about and teaching about in a much better way than some of our Americanized translations would have us think. So it's an interesting study, and going back to the Kabbalah times and their understanding of the forces of energy is profound. Their understanding of the connectedness of all of nature to us. We are part of that web of constant flowing energy. They were understanding quantum physics in a way that modern science is just catching up to. And some of those old writings are helping modern physicists in today's world understand the creation and function of life. So the Kabbalah teachings is the oldest technical guide to life and life science. So it's exciting to pare it down in kind of easy to manage gulps and bites. And that's what we're doing with this book that I shared with you last week. And I'm sorry folks said that they couldn't see it because there was a glare when I held it up, but it is called, there's many books about Kabbalah. This is just one of the simple ones by a teacher that I happen to adore. I love his writing. This is by Rav Yehuda Berg. So I don't know if all of what I've recorded so far did not happen, or if I can pick up right where I left off, because all of a sudden my computer went down and it said it's not connected. So I was talking about Rev Berg's book, The Power of Kabbalah. It's a fun, easy read. And a little bit about, we're just going to scratch the surface of Kabbalah, but some of these teachings are so deep and so related to the Tao, so related to the teachings of unity, and so related to the teachings of Jesus. When he said the kingdom of heaven is at hand, Jesus walked in the kingdom of heaven every day and taught his disciples and followers how to do that. This is what he was talking about. Because the second rule, that first rule that we talked briefly about last week, was just a question to you of what is the God of your understanding? Let's not just believe everything we've been told and everything we've read. Let's be certain about our understanding about that, so that then we can take in a little more information and a little more information. And we don't believe that. We take it on ourselves. We challenge our minds and our past thoughts. We invite our mind to open a little broader, to see more of this glorious world that we live in. So that was kind of the first rule of the game. Don't take anything at face value. And this next rule of the game of life, that 1% and 99%, 1% of all of existence, our experience, is the material world, sensual senses. 1% of eternity, of life, of existence. Only 1% is the material. But how much of our time do we spend in it? 99% of that is light. And the Kabbalah speaks of this curtain between the two realms. Perhaps Christians would think of it as heaven and hell. The Pope believes that heaven and hell are states of mind. Jesus believed that as well. The Kabbalists do as well, as do the Taoists, the Hindus, and the Buddhists. That it is, and the Sikhs, that it is a state of mind, and we can pass through that curtain at will. When we begin to understand how to live in that heaven 99%, and that's the goal. That's the goal of the Kabbalist and the experience of living heaven on earth. Don't you want to do that? So here's a brief summary of what that means, the 1% and the 99%. And I want you to think about this as I read it, about how that unity, if you've been studying Christianity, if you've been studying Hinduism, whatever, or if you're just simply a scientist, just listen to how this settles into your brain and ourselves. This is a brief summary of the 1%. The 1% of our reality, only 1%. I tend to spend a lot of percent of my time in this 1%, by the way, but I'm ready to go to the other side of the veil. The 1% reality is the world of our 5 senses. It is a realm of chaos. It is a realm where we react to external events because of our senses. Fulfillment here in this 1% is temporary and fleeting. Just take this in. Effects, symptoms, and reactions preoccupy us in this 1% realm. Are you preoccupied by effects and symptoms and reactions? In this 1%, we are victims who apparently suffer because of other people's actions and external circumstances. There seems to be no hope for bringing about permanent positive change, because any change that occurs is temporary and therefore illusory. The majority of our desires remain unfulfilled Because if it's always reaction, how is that fulfilling? Right? Murphy's Law governs the realm of the 1%. Everything that can possibly go wrong will. Have you had any feet in that side of the veil? Any grounding? Have you built your home there and stayed there, not daring to go to the other side of the veil, or thinking that only death will put you there? Just opening up some questions, opening up some cans of worms. Even when things go well, we know they'll change, for we live in an endless cycle of ups and downs. Well, the good news is that's only 1% of our existence. So why is it that we spend 90% of our time there, our energy there, our mind there? Maybe some of you don't. Maybe some of you have learned the skills and mastered. Here's a brief summary of the 99% that exists in the field of energy, which we are. This beautiful thumbprint of God, this unique blueprint. 99% of me is pure light. That's exciting. A brief summary of the 99%. The 99% lies beyond human perception. Think of that extraordinary meditation experience you had. You've got a peek of that. It is a world of absolute order, perfection, and spiritual light. And in that 99% see within themselves that space of wholeness, of action rather than reaction to external events exists. This is the realm that we touch on, and it becomes more apparent for us, stronger and sturdier, when we decide not to react to external events. That's all we're seeing today, isn't it? Have you tried this week to sit back like you're watching a play with a big tub of popcorn? You can even pop up some real popcorn if you want. Just watch your life play out on the silver screen, all the actors that God brings into it, and how the play unfolds, as if you don't need to react. You're just a spectator. That's kind of a nice practice to help us get there. In this 99%, the source, the seed, and the hidden origin of the physical world remain. This is where our scientists go with those magnifiers, those amazing quantum physics machines that they have to explore this vast space of energy. We have connection to it right here and now. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. It is a world of total fulfillment, infinite knowledge, and endless joy. You know, people that have gotten to this state of being able to maintain a certain amount of time, to us seem otherworldly. Back in the day, they seemed crazy and often were burned at the stake. These mystics, these Sufis, that if you've ever read poetry from one of them, like Hafiz or Rumi, it would appear that they are crazy. But if you go deeper and read how profound their writing is, how they had something of God that we can only imagine, that we haven't yet embraced and felt. That is what that 99% light is like. It is a dimension in which we can initiate positive, lasting change, permanent change, that also manifests in our 1%. Okay, this is huge. This is as we work on accessing that 99% light. It is here that we can manifest from it called that forth and it came. God spoke the word and there was light. That seems pretty powerful. And I would imagine that a certain amount of mastery to help manifest into reality. But we know this happens. We know how prayer changes things. We know now in those science labs that those doing the experiments based on what they are thinking is resulting in the outcomes they are having. And they're measuring that. Now they're part of the experiment becoming. That's exciting. This 99%, there is no trace of Murphy's Law in the realm of the 99%. It is the perfection of creation. And the powerful thing about this, that flows through us. That 99% is flowing through us. When we get to June and the power of imagination, we're going to go deeply into this principle, this Kabbalah principle of manifesting that imagination and using our body, mind, and spirit, all of the tools that God has gifted us with to help create a better version of this world. Because that is why unity exists around the globe and teaches these spiritual principles to co-create with God a world that works for everyone, where we are all truly brothers and sisters, and we don't do things that are not good for the others, that we do things as God would have us do them. For no tree would be so foolish as to cut off its own branches. This leads to the second Kabbalah principle. And this is your only homework, just to study this principle and watch how you are showing up this week. What side of the curtain are you on? Play on both, see which you prefer. Don't take my word for it. Two basic realities exist. 1% of darkness in the world of senses, 99% realm of light. This is our only assignment this week. Claiming the light that is already there. We don't have to search for it. We don't have to look for it. That means it does not exist for us now. It's there. Peeling back the curtain and getting a glimpse of the light. And how do we do that this week? Not reacting. Oh, and you know what's going to happen? Spirit's going to give you lots of opportunities to react. Because just like exercise, when we're building those muscles and strengthening our physical bodies and bettering our health, it is the same with spirituality. We are strengthening our spiritual tools. We are obeying the spiritual laws and getting peeks through the curtain to the side where God more fully exists for us. So the light is there, and our access to it is non-reaction to outer circumstances. So that's a simple one. It may not be easy, but it's a simple one. That person cuts you off. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. We don't have to judge that person, cuss that person. It would feel good, or maybe go around them and cut them off and then slow way down. Not that I've ever done that. I most certainly don't think I have. But I want you to just test, how would it feel not to react? It's frustrating at first, but then it gets easier and easier. And the extraordinary thing is you start seeing synchronicity. Oh, if I would have done that, I wouldn't have seen this. Just observe. If it gets too frustrating and you can't, turn the news off. Put your computer down. Turn Facebook off. Go for a walk. Sit down by an old, wise tree and just absorb and look. No reaction. That's going to give you a taste. Because what we're doing is waking up your inner senses, waking up the God in you, opening to a higher dimension. And we're going to use all the tools from all the great religions to help us do that. So keep those questions coming. I will do my best to answer them. Sunday, we're going to go a little deeper into the faith factor before we dive into February, the month of the power of love, and what that can look like on a grand 6 billion mind scale. I want to read another poem from Susceptible to Light, my new fun book, from Shailan Harkin, beautiful writer. Oh, this is the one. It's called Read the Fine Print. Some days I awaken so certain of the world's goodness. This poem is a reminder for those other days when I need to convince my stubborn mind that all is still well. Let me present the evidence. Have you noticed all the fastidious care that went in to pinning up so many stars to decorate the night sky? What did that? And the way all of nature has a tidiness to it, even gnarled trees, even dirt. Or sit a moment and puzzle over the masterful origami of each flower and think, what cosmic interior decorator chose that gold for those rolling hills? And before that, who thought up tenderness? Who is it that came up with all these colors? And what genius said autumn? My only simple conclusion as I sit amazed at the pileup of gifts is that we're part of a great contract of goodness. And there's love written into every atom if you get close enough to read the fine print. Go out and read the fine print. I will see you on Sunday. Have a blessed week. I love you. God loves you. Bye-bye.